So in this video, we are going to talk about learning target 1, which says I can plot points on the coordinate plane. Before we go any farther, I want to make sure that you have your notes out in front of you with something to write with, and you're ready to follow along with me as I talk. Anything I write down on my notes, make sure that you write down on your notes, because that means that it's important and that you're probably going to want to refer back to it later. Now, learning target 1, which says I can plot points on the coordinate plane, is something that you have probably learned before, but it's going to be very important in this class. Each ordered pair is of the form xy. To plot a point, travel along the x-axis first, right for positive or left for negative, until you reach this x coordinate, whatever this number is. Then, from that point, travel up or down until you reach the y coordinate, whatever this number is. So what this looks like in action, on this grid right here, plot these points. So the first point is 2, negative 3. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. So make sure that you write these numbers on yours. Now to do this, we first need to look at all of these, and it says 2, negative 3. So I'm going to go over 2 because it's a positive 2, and then I'm going to go down 3 because it's a negative 3. So because my x-coordinate was 2, I move 2 to the right, then I go down 3, and I put a dot. So there's that point. Here, the x-coordinate is negative. So I'm going to go to negative 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because there's no scale written, I'm just going to assume that this counts by ones. This next point is a little bit interesting because it says 2.3, negative 1. So I'm going to go over 2.3, which is a little less than halfway to 3. 2.3 is in between 2 and 3, a little less than halfway, so I'm about right here, and then I go down 1. Now, you notice that these are getting a little bit, there's getting to be a lot over here, so I'm going to start writing what each one is next to it. So this one was over 2, down 3. This one is left 4, up 5. 0, 0 means I don't go over at all, and then I don't go up and down at all. I stay right there, and we call that the origin. Negative 7, 0. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually running out of space here, so I'm just going to estimate. So, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, if we extend that out. About right there. And then 0. So I don't go up or down at all. I stay right there on the x-axis. 3, 0. Now that's a positive, so I go to the right. 1, 2, 3, and then I don't go up or down at all. 0, 1.6. That means that I don't go over at all because remember, the x-coordinate tells you how much you go left or right, which in this case is none, so I stay right here. And then 1.6 is positive, so I go up 1.6, which happens a little bit more than halfway between 1 and 2. 0, 1.6. And then 0, negative 38. 0, negative 38, I would actually be going down, 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 all the way to negative 38. But because our graph doesn't go that far, we just won't do that one right now. Now for the second part of these notes, it says list several points in the first quadrant, list several points in the second quadrant, several points in the third quadrant, and several points in the fourth quadrant. So to do this, you first need to identify which quadrants are which. This is quadrant 1. I'm going to make a Roman numeral 1. This is quadrant 2 because we usually talk about Roman numerals. We use Roman numerals to represent the quadrants. This is quadrant 3. And this is quadrant 4. If I'm going too fast and you need to catch up with what you're writing, remember this is a YouTube video, so you can always pause it. Now, a good way to remember this is you start in this quadrant, the quadrant that we use most often, quadrant 1, and then you just make a C. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. C4 coordinate plane. Okay? Now, list several points in the first quadrant. So I'm going to do the point, I'll say 1, 1, this point right here. I'm just randomly picking points. I can say 4, 2. I can say 5, 4. Now I can choose any points as long as they're in this quadrant. And then what this is asking, what do they have in common? In order for points to be in the first quadrant, they have to have a positive x coordinate and a positive y coordinate, because that's how you go right and then go up to get into the first quadrant. To get into the second quadrant, you have to go left and then up. So I can go left 3 and then up 1. That would get me right there into the second quadrant. I could go left 1, negative 1, and then up 5. Negative 1, up 5, second quadrant. I could go left 2, up 2. So to get into the second quadrant, notice that the x-coordinate is always negative because that's how you go left to get over there. And then the y-coordinate is always positive because you have to go up to get into the second quadrant. So it's going to have a negative x-coordinate and positive y-coordinate. For the third quadrant, you have to go left and then down. So it's going to be negative, negative. So I could really pick any ordered pairs as long as the x and the y coordinates are negative. So I'll say negative 2, negative 4. That would get me there. Negative 2, negative 4, third quadrant. Negative 1, negative 1. I could even pick negative 50, negative 143. That would be way negative, down here in this third quadrant. So to get to the third quadrant, notice that the x-coordinates are all negative and the y-coordinates are all negative. So I will say negative x-coordinate and negative y-coordinates. Now to get to this fourth quadrant down here, we need a positive x and then a negative y because you're going to the right and then down. So I can pick any points that have a positive x-coordinate and a negative y-coordinate. 3, negative 2 would be in this fourth quadrant. I'll say 1, negative 6, and I don't know, a positive 4 and a negative 3. As long as it is a positive x-coordinate and a negative y-coordinate. So without even graphing, we know how to get from a point into each quadrant just based on whether the x and y coordinate is positive or negative. And that is all there is to Learning Target 1. I hope you enjoyed it.